Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Jersey Boy Sports Talk. I'm Nick Bogatis with Matt Stolboff. How you doing out there, Matt?
Doing good.
We are without CB tonight because he is at Voorhees High School homecoming. I guess a couple weeks back we asked you guys targeted more than Richard Sherman, and one of our most popular responses was CB as a homecoming date. That ended up being true. CB's at homecoming now. Probably was taking home the homecoming king crown. So good luck out there, CB. We'll see you next week. Now, Jersey Boy Sports Talk, we are the only show that will save Percy Harvin from the Jets. So prayers out to Percy Harvin. He's heading to New York. As always, phone number for tonight, 862-400-6461. You can call in with any legitimate questions. That means you, Jimmy. Like our Facebook page, Jersey Boy Sports Talk with Nick Bogatis, CB Garrett, and Matt Stolboff. And follow us on Twitter at JB Sports Talk. So, not a lot going on in sports this week. We got a couple headlines for you. First off, we'll start with Jameis Winston. So, not only did Todd Gurley get in trouble for autographs, now on top of Jameis Winston's problems that he already had, now he's getting busted for autographs being investigated. There's currently a website up, forget what it's called, but apparently they have over 2,000 authenticated Jameis Winston autographs, so he's currently being investigated. There's no doubt in my mind that this is true, just because there's college players doing it all over the place. They need the money. I don't really feel there's anything wrong with that. We talked about that a lot last week. They should be able to make money off their likeness. My question for you, Snowball, does Jameis Winston have a major maturity problem?
I think so. And not because of this incident. What pretty much, what happened in that meeting, I think it was a meeting, right? When he couldn't play for the whole game.
Yes.
There was a meeting, right? He said language that we can't even say here on Spreaker.com, but you guys might have heard what he said. The rape allegations, even stealing crab legs or whatever he stole. It's just immaturity, and if Jameis wasn't as good as he is at football, we could be seeing Jameis, out of Florida State or whatever college he could have gone to if he, was a good athlete. So I think Jameis is immature. Now I think this can be changed. When he does go to the NFL and plays, I think he'll toughen up and learn, because he won't be the star necessarily on whatever team he's on. Now he's the star, so he's getting all the attention. So he feels that he's better than everyone else. But if he's in the pros, there are guys who are tougher, stronger, and better than my football, and they'll put him in his place, I guess. So Jameis is immature. I think it can be changed, but it's definitely going to hurt his draft stock. A guy who probably could have gone number one overall. Actually, maybe not. His performance this year. I mean, we've seen Jameis over the season, and it really hasn't been. I haven't been impressed. It's really not even close to what it was last year. Maybe losing Benjamin and his tight end, I forget his name right now, but losing those guys really made a bigger impact than we thought. So yeah, I think James is immature, can be changed, but it'll definitely hurt his draft stock.
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely not this instant because NFL executives recognize how ridiculous the NCAA is. They just don't want to lose basically their minor league system where you have to stay for 3 years.
It did affect Terrell Pryor a lot, the same allegation.
That's true, but on the same note, Terrell Pryor wasn't eligible for the draft initially.
Right.
So he ended up going in the third round of the supplemental draft to the Raiders. He probably would have gone higher if he was in the first draft. Terrell Pryor just missed the cutoff because he didn't realize he was going to be suspended. Now, in terms of Todd Gurley, he's going to be just fine. Even if he gets suspended for the rest of the season, he's going to come into the NFL fresh, ready to go, less hits. Everyone knows that he can play. Jameis Winston, on the other hand, like you said, it's not this incident. It's the crab legs. It's the rape allegations. It's on the student meeting, getting up on the table, shouting, whatever. The, probably one of the things that stands out to me, which kind of gets overlooked, is when he was suspended from the game. I believe it was Clemson. I could be wrong. But he comes out in full pads and uniform when he knew he wasn't playing, and then Jimbo Fisher has to go tell him to go back and change. I thought that showed a huge lack of maturity. I do think, however, that he'll still go in the first round to some poorly run organization. I can see the Cowboys taking him because Jerry Jones gets past this guy this time with the draft card. He messed up with Johnny Manziel. I can see the Jets taking him if Geno Smith doesn't perform this year. Just because
I don't know. I mean, the Jets. I don't know if they'll tolerate.
I'm not saying it's a legitimate pick. I'm just saying the organization.
I can get why they'd pick a QB, but I don't know if they'll. From what's been going on over the years, they're willing to take a guy. I mean, I understand Percy Harvin. They strayed for him. We'll talk about that later in the show, and how he's had a couple of. We're starting to hear that he's had some instances with players like Russell Wilson and Golden Tate. But Jameis, I don't know if the Jets would be willing to take a guy who's been in trouble, who's had to face legal issues.
Hey, you know what? There's a pattern with guys with maturity issues. Brady Quinn, huge issues with maturity coming out of college. Look where he turned out. Ryan Leaf, when he was coming out of college, he wasn't ready for the NFL. He was out of the league in a couple of years, ended up getting arrested a couple of times, got involved with drugs. It doesn't work out. You need to be ready for this league. And Jameis Winston isn't. I don't know if he's going to change his ways. But there's no way I take him in the first round if I'm any NFL GM. Snowball, just to wrap up this Jameis Winston, where is the highest you'll take him in the draft? Because the kid can play.
Highest?
Yeah.
Right now, probably.
Let's say every team needs a quarterback throughout the draft. You control every single team.
Probably 20.
20. The problem is he's a first round talent. He's probably, pending his performance this year, he could go top 10 if it wasn't for all these issues. But we'll see how that turns out. Tonight, Florida State actually plays Notre Dame. They're both 6-0.
It's probably the biggest game of the year right now.
Yeah. Florida State's number 2, Notre Dame's number 5. We'll see how that turns out. But you brought up Percy Harvin, and we got to get to that. Percy Harvin, huge move this week. I was shocked. Everyone else was shocked. We thought some Twitter accounts got hacked along the way. We didn't know if this was legitimate news. But Percy Harvin has been traded to the New York Jets for a conditional draft pick to the Seattle Seahawks. Snowball, first reaction.
Wow. I was like, whoa. Like, this is going to be... I was shocked, but I can see, Percy Harvin, though, this year, he really hasn't done that much. I know he got 3 touchdowns called back, but, I looked at his stats. It's like 200-some receiving yards, no receiving touchdowns. Nothing really impressive this year. And what we're hearing about Percy Harvin and how he had issues in the locker room, I can see why Seattle wanted to let him go. The Jets need a receiver. They feel like they need one more guy receiver. So they said, why not? Let's take Percy Harvin. And they have a lot of draft picks, so losing a draft pick is not that big of a deal for them. Now we'll see, because I feel like Percy Harvin, he's got a lot of money left. He has a lot of years left on his contract. It was like a 6-year deal. So he's got like 4.5 years left. So, it's either a swing and a miss. It's either a hit or miss right now. That's what I'd say, hit or miss. He can either be a star for the Jets or he can be gone next year. So we'll have to wait and see. And I hope they have a they don't have a bye. I hope he plays though. on Sunday, next Sunday, because I want to see how he does with the Jets, and I want to see the Jets. They're more West Coast than Seattle is. Seattle likes to throw deep balls. Percy Harvin's a smaller guy, faster guy, so he might actually fit in the Jets system and could probably help Geno a lot.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually really torn on this because I understand why the Seahawks traded him. They really needed the cap room. Like you said, he has a lot of money left on his contract. They were also fed up with his act. He, like Jameis Winston, has had maturity issues, like you mentioned. And I understand the Seahawks and Pete Carroll wanting to get rid of him. At the same time, I think you gave up too much. It is a conditional draft pick in 2015. It will either be, depending on how the Jets play, it will either be a 4th or 6th round draft pick. Now, for a guy, the Seahawks, they're not terrible at wide receiver, but they don't have the most depth. They lost Sidney Rice this offseason. They have Doug Baldwin. They have Jermaine Kearse. Zach Miller's their tight end. I'm forgetting anyone else, Snowball? Anyone else significant?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
You said right, Baldwin.
Because Golden Tate went to the Lions. They don't have a whole lot of depth. So to give up a guy like Percy Harvin, I know he has issues, but you got to get something for him. Not a 4th round, 6th round draft pick. I'm a Steelers fan, as you all know. I was saying the same thing when we traded Santonio Holmes a couple of years back because he had legal problems. I wanted him gone, I really did. But we traded him, ironically, to the Jets, too. And we just got a 6th round draft pick for him. He was coming off his Super Bowl MVP season, set a record for catches, amazing amount of yards. He was the number 1 receiver on the team, and all you got for him was a 6th round draft pick. Granted, that 6th round draft pick turned into Antonio Brown, but at the time, that's not a fair trade.
I actually did not know that it was Antonio Brown with that draft pick.
Yeah, I think that was just karma. They got rid of him entirely because of his legal issues. So yeah, hopefully the Seahawks will be able to get an Antonio Brown out of this 4th or 6th rounder. But Snowball, don't you think they didn't get enough for him?
Especially
considering the Jets really need a wide receiver.
I mean, Percy Harvin hasn't been that well. He really hasn't done that well this year at all. So I think it's pretty fair. And I don't think the Jets really care about this draft pick because they have so many draft picks and they've drafted so many guys in the last year or two that I don't think it really matters to them. I think it's, we'll see. And, it depends. If Percy Harvin does well, it becomes a 2nd round pick. If he does bad, it becomes a 4th round pick. So, but either way, I don't think the Jets are really worried about losing a pick here. And the Seahawks, I guess he really was that big of a cancer, big of a problem for the team that they had to get rid of him as quickly as possible.
I think it's a good move for the Jets, though. He's 26 years old. That locker room's a mess, honestly. There's not much you can do about it at this point. You need to fire Rex Ryan, overhaul the team, but if you're looking for some success now, you know what, he can be decent.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on. We do have some baseball playoff action. The Royals won the ALCS, swept the Orioles. Snowball, surprised there? No?
Still on that Royals bandwagon. Kind of shocked they swept. The Orioles looked pretty well against the Tigers. So I'm really surprised actually it was a sweep, but their fielding was amazing in the series. They're still winning games in extra innings. I mean, they've really been unbelievable because it's not like the Royals are dominating in these games that they're winning. They're coming close every time, coming back from run deficits, going into extra innings and winning games on walk-offs or whatever. So it's been amazing. I really hope the Royals win. I mean, I don't want to see the Giants win. And if the Giants do win, then Bruce Bochy is one of the greatest managers of all time, and nobody talks about Bruce Bochy.